when jumped on correctly, trends can be amazing for your brand, but to your point, I don't think it's the right approach to necessarily jump on every single one, but really find those one-offs that can make a difference.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Linqia's Culture Creators. I have my guest here today joining me from Magnum Ice Cream Company. She is the U.S. Influencer Marketing Associate Manager. We have Emily Tumminia here with us today, and I'm going to run through some questions about what you've been up to lately. But first, did I pronounce your last name correctly?
Yes, you did. That was perfect.
Good. All righty. Well, why don't we start out by you telling me a little bit about yourself, your career trajectory, what you're doing over there at Magnum, and, just a little bit of history.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me on here, Denise. Very excited for today's chat. So happy to kind of chat a little bit about myself. So I kind of fell into influencer marketing, I'd say, by accident. So I initially joined Anheuser-Busch InBev right out of college in a rotational program that really exposed me to the CPG world as a whole. And then I quickly moved over to the partnerships team, working across talent, entertainment, and influencer, and just really loved that overlap that we saw between brands and people. So I really wanted to continue to focus on creating partnerships, and I found an amazing opportunity to do so at the Magnum Ice Cream Company, which is where I am today, working on all of our influencer campaigns, and it's a space very close to my heart. I mean, I grew up eating Breyers with my dad after softball practice, so honored to be able to say that I work at a place that I know would make my younger self really proud.
Yeah, so from beer to ice cream.
Yes.
So very beloved in different ways, but I have to say, like, it's the international snack, where, when somebody's like, "What's your guilty pleasure?" It's always some ice cream. So it's fun to be in the space, I'm sure.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if you can't have fun working on either beer or ice cream, I think there's something wrong with you. So it's definitely been a fun journey so far.
And in influencer marketing, like, you touch on a very interesting point is that, influencer marketing wasn't really a job, like, call it 5, 8 years ago, and it is now. And more companies are adding influencer marketing to their repertoire. And it's just such a fun job to have, like you said, in reaching new generations. And that leads to the next question I have, like, the generation du jour, so Gen Z, like, I'm sure, and I see all the work that you're doing in the space and trying to reach that generation. Could you dig a little bit more deeper there and talk to me about how you are reaching that generation and, what your approach and your strategy is?
Yeah, of course. I mean, Gen Z, it's always been kind of the talk of the town, and it's obviously very important for all brands. They continue to have one of the strongest influences on the consumer market, and I will say and admit that being a part of Gen Z myself, I do understand their motivations, their values, how unique they are compared to other generations. I will say, like, Gen Z just really values authenticity and belonging, and honestly can see through when a brand might be doing something that's fake or a little bit BS. So I think it's really important to kind of be as authentic as you can, and across all of our influencer campaigns, we really keep that authenticity. I know that's everyone's favorite word, but it really is so important, and that transparency at the forefront. So we really allow our creators to lean into their own style and leverage their own voice as much as we possibly can. And just to continue to introduce Gen Z to our brands, I think it's important to show up where they are. So as you mentioned before, the influencer space has changed so much. Meta and just Instagram is kind of where we started, but I think now it's important to show up on all the platforms that Gen Z might be on, whether it's TikTok or YouTube, and not only just showing up, but creating content that's native to the platform. The days of kind of creating
Yeah.
one video that you put on all three platforms is totally gone. It's important to show up in their feed in an authentic way that they expect to see a brand, or they expect to see an influencer posting that kind of doesn't interrupt their process, but rather complements it. So I think another thing that's important to note is just within that different type of content per platform, understanding what makes sense where. So on TikTok, we tend to see more of that community building, lo-fi content, whereas more of that brand building and inspirational content is really where we try to put things on Meta. So I think having that clear understanding, kind of the distinctions of each platform and where Gen Z spends their time, is crucial for us.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree with you more. To drive it home for somebody that's listening to this, could you give an example of because you said authenticity, everybody's using it, showing up where people are. Can you give an example actually of something that you've done where it does demonstrate authenticity and being on the right platform at the right time with the right message?
Yeah, of course. I think one example that I wanted to bring up in this interview and conversation was something that we recently did with Jake Shane and our popsicle brand. I'm not sure if you've
Mhm.
seen this campaign everywhere on LinkedIn or on social media, but this was really a fun one to work on. Jake is an influencer. He's known for his popsicle reveals. He's expressed his love particularly for cherry popsicle ice pops online. So this was kind of one of those moments where we knew we had to participate in this. We had to do something bigger. So we partnered with him on a content series, as well as a giveaway of a limited all cherry Jake Shane popsicle ice pop box. And I think this was one of those examples where like it couldn't get more authentic than this. We worked with an influencer and a creator who was already a huge fan of our brand, who was posting his own videos online and receiving love from his consumers. And then we found a way for our brand to really easily kind of fit in and integrate ourselves. And I think
Mhm.
that was
Mhm.
something that consumers fell in love with. They saw it on their feed. They expected it already from the consumer or the
Mhm.
influencer. So it wasn't anything
Yeah.
unfamiliar to them. It really made sense. And we saw that from all of the love that kind of came out of it. And I think that's an example of really just finding a moment and being authentic on the feed with the influencer in a time that the consumer is expecting it.
Yeah. And I think that you did two things really right. You probably did a number of things really right, but the two things that rise to my mind is you didn't just do an influencer execution. You actually created a relationship with this influencer that extended beyond just a one-time post. And the other thing that you did in with that is surrounded it with other things, like, other marketing elements, like, having an exclusive, Jake flavor or opportunity for somebody to win something. So you had other marketing elements to this. It wasn't just like, hey, talk about our existing products, but, here's something original that you can talk about. And then the last thing of that point, and probably was 3 points, but nonetheless, is like leaning into a trend. And that is something I wanted to talk to you about because a lot of brands will jump on a trend and say, oh, I got to be in this, or I got to be at the Super Bowl, or, on this red carpet. And I think what you in that example and what you do as a brand is understand what's right for you, what's right for a place for you to show up. So how do you think about trends and identify the right trends? And do you think that they're all right for every ice cream brand? How do you unpack that?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. Trends are obviously super important to lean into as a brand and as a company. However, exactly to your point, I think we see trends as kind of complementing our work rather than having them take the lead. So, jumping on every trend, even those that might not fit with our strategy, is not the right approach, in our opinion. We really have a strong social first team that kind of identifies the trends that are occurring quickly. And then we kind of look back and ask ourselves, hey, is this something that our brand can authentically have a voice in? Is this a dialogue that's already happening that makes sense for us to partake in? Or is it something that's a bit separate that maybe if we entered, it's not really a benefit to us or it kind of seems like a waste of time? I think it's really important to jump in on trends that are authentic and fit into your brand. I don't think it's the right way to go about it to kind of jump on every trend that's happening because you can kind of
Right.
get lost in the noise and be just another brand that's in the space. So I guess just kind of with that one example of a trend that I thought was great that we recently jumped in on was with Breyer's French toast, which I'm not sure if you saw over the summer. It's a little bit crazy, but we saw that people were dipping their bread into Breyer's vanilla ice cream instead of kind of that egg mixture that you normally would to make French toast. So this
Mhm.
was something that we, of course, had to jump on. I think this wasn't just another trend. Our brand was literally at the forefront of it. So we quickly worked with our R&D team. We suggested which vanilla was the best that would taste well or which was the best mixture and consistency. And we had a ton of UGC videos that we created, as well as actually reaching out to one of the original creators that implemented the trend and had a piece of paid content with them that ended up being one of our top performing creator assets for the brand in 2025, which I just thought was super
Yeah.
powerful and really shows that when jumped on correctly, trends can be amazing for your brand. But to your point, I don't think it's the right approach to necessarily jump on every single one, but really find those one offs that can make a difference.
Well, a lot of brands struggle with jumping on trends because you have to move
Yeah.
fast and you have to be in the moment. And not every brand has that opportunity to do that for various reasons. So, again, for people that are listening, what advice do you have for them? How are you jumping on these trends and how long does it take? Is it a 24-hour turnaround, 48? Does it still, make sense after a week? How are you doing it?
Yeah, it's hard, and I don't have a golden answer. I think it's hard on our end as well. Being a large company, time and speed is always something that we struggle with. I will say our team is like critically online. I am always on my phone. I'm always on TikTok, on
Mm-hmm.
Instagram, which I think is important, even if it's not necessarily your job. We have people across functions who are sending videos. We have group chats specifically dedicated to just sending TikToks or trends that are going viral. So I think always having your finger on the pulse across all the teams and not just having that be your social team or your influencer team is really, really important so that we also get those different perspectives. I mean, everyone sees different things on social media, so being able to share that quickly, I'd say, is my number one priority that we try to do. And then from a standpoint, I mean, I could share something today, something might not happen until Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I think that's something
Mm-hmm.
we're still trying to figure out. But I'd say within a week for this French toast one, at least, we were able to kind of have a plan of action and get things
Okay.
moving. So I think speed is important. And once you kind of hit that weak point, depending on what the trend is, I'd say it's a bit difficult. I think there's some trends that, if it's peak of the summer, it's some time to activate quickly. But if it's more of just a conversation that's going on or a theme, it's something that you can continue to kind of activate months later. So I think it's important to kind of look at the trend and think about
Yeah.
what the lifespan might be. But I'd say for most of them,
Right.
they're pretty quick. And if you're not able to activate within a
Yeah.
week, it might not make sense.
We call them long tail and short tail because some things will be only around for a day or two, and then others will last months. Um, but do you keep influencers in your back pocket that you can pull forward during these moments in time, or do you strike up new relationships?
Yeah, I think it's a mix of both. So we going into next year, we're really excited to have always on programs for nearly all of our brands, and I think that's going to be one of the huge benefits of that. And it's something we did with Talenti this year of having that roster of individuals where if we
Hmm.
see something pop up, we're quickly able to tap them on the shoulder. We don't have to go through a whole new contract. But if it's a moment where maybe it's a brand new trend and we really want to amplify it and have a bit more of a kind of moment where a ton of people post at once, then we will contract more of those pulse creators and add them on. But yes, I think having that always on roster is something we're aiming towards, and I think that's a huge benefit to be
Yeah.
able to quickly tap into trends.
It's something that we talk about a lot too. And in my past life, did a lot of ambassador work. And I think more brands should be moving in that direction. And influencers really want it too. They want longer term relationships that you can imagine, like a one off opportunity for a few $1,000s and, they're in and they're out. Or do they want a multi-$1,000 deal and they're with that brand for a long time? And when you speak about authenticity and brand fan and brand love, like I can show more love to a brand as an influencer if I'm going deeper into the brand and having deeper relationships. So I think your brand and others are really eyeballing that up. In fact, in our state of influencer marketing report, we had noticed that many marketers were telling us that they will increase their spend in 2026 in an influencer marketing space. So I like to ask this, like, you may not have the answer to it, but where do you surmise that these budgets are coming from? Do you think that it is new money, or do you think that maybe it's coming from PR or traditional advertising dollars? How is the funding being supported for this uh, marketing execution
Yeah,
influencer?
no, it's a great question. Honestly, something I've tried to figure out and think about more so from an industry perspective because the creator economy is obviously growing at such an incredible speed. We're seeing so many more brands enter the space. There's so much to be done, and I still think that that's going to continue to grow for years to come. And I
Mhm.
do think a lot of it is from other areas that are kind of being moved now into the influencer space because brands and companies are realizing the value and the importance that influencers and creators really can have, and even the sales impact, while difficult to measure. I know there's a ton of instances where we can clearly say like influencers and creators helped boost our sales and boost our brand here. So I do think some
Yeah.
of it, if not all of it, is coming from other traditional media areas, maybe TVCs that aren't being made because more money is being put towards social.
Yeah.
I think there's a huge
Yeah.
just a lot to kind of put behind that idea. So I really do think a lot of it's coming from other areas and not much of it is new money at all.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it's new money. I don't think that brands are getting new money, especially in the sort of economic climate we're in right now. And I agree with you 100%. I think it's one less TVC. I think it's, one less experiential event or combining all of that stuff together so you have a nice holistic campaign. And I think what the best marketers are doing is really looking at influencer as a nucleus of the idea. And then how does that feed TVC? How does that feed your experiential event, PR, all these other things that you're doing, like, retail media, whatever it is, but how can influencer actually be at the center of that and in a cost efficient way fuel a pipeline?
Yeah, 100%.
Are you using influencer? Yeah. So I was going to ask you that. Are you using influencer throughout the marketing chain?
Yeah, so I was just gonna respond to that. I feel like it's influencer on its own is powerful, but it's more important as part of a 360 campaign. So like Jake was a perfect example. We leveraged PR, we worked with our paid social team, we
Yeah.
boosted it. We had it be the meta moment maker. We had so many other areas that we were able to leverage. We used a giveaway. We increased sales with retail. I think
Hmm.
there's a ton of areas where influencer can be the middle, but I also think maybe something else is the middle and influencer is a crucial part of it.
Yeah.
So we've seen that a ton. I think there's a lot that we're going to do next year across our brands. For Talenti this year, we had our Tastemakers, which was a group of 8 amazing creators that we leveraged for multiple posts. We did in real life moments with them. We brought them to the US Open. We had a
Yeah.
partnership with Dominique Ansel. I think really to your point,
Yeah.
being able to kind of hit on all these different moments and touch points is important. And I think that's what the amazing thing about influencer is it can really extend itself into so many other areas of the marketing chain.
Yeah. So every time you say I'm going to go off course a second because every time you say Talenti, I do a little happy
Yeah,
dance. Like that
I
is
love
like next
that.
level delicious ice cream. So I went to Sicily, and I'm going to combine. This is going
I
to come
love
full
this. I'm
circle. So
Sicilian, so this is amazing.
your, I am also Sicilian. So your French toast example. So they serve gelato on a brioche bun
Yep.
in Sicily. So like it's literally an ice cream sandwich
Yep.
on a bun. So I'm like, this is so good. So I get back from Italy, and I'm like, I need to reinvent this whole experience. So I buy brioche bun and I get Talenti because I'm like, it's the closest
Right.
thing that I can find. And I'm literally making this Talenti brioche bun sandwich. So before your French toasting happened, I didn't put it on social media, and I'm not an influencer, but it's definitely good.
Everyone's
I'll
an
tell you
influencer. Which flavor was
if
it?
you
Can I
find
ask?
it. I don't remember, but it's something with peanut butter and multiple things inside of it,
I love it.
cookies and all kinds of stuff. But I don't have it often. It's certainly a guilty pleasure, but
It's
I
definitely
just
a
like the
bit
Talenti.
indulgent,
It's
but
just so
it's
good.
delicious.
Very, but so delicious and great. But we got off track a second. But you were talking about some of your influencer campaigns, and you can answer this in one or two ways, like whether it's something you've worked on, whether it's at Magnum or someplace else, or something you've seen recently. But I really like to know, like, what is a favorite campaign of yours in the influencer marketing space that you've either seen or executed?
Yeah, I think one of them I obviously already mentioned was Jake this year that I've executed, which so far I started at Magnum in March, so it's been a quick few months, but I think that I will have to say has been my favorite so far here. And then one that I've seen elsewhere that just continues to kind of live rent free in my head that I'm sure was all over everyone's For You page this summer was Gap with Cat's Eye and the music group. I think their campaign was just so cool and successful and more even importantly very timely. I think they really
Yeah,
introduced their denim to the world while partnering with an amazing group that also shares the brand's multicultural POV and individuality. And they just found, to my earlier point, I love partnerships. I think they found such a unique partnership that resonated so well with their community and their audience and even extended into other areas. I personally wasn't following either that brand or that group on social media, and now I am. And I think
yeah,
they very clearly were paying attention to social and to culture at the time. They launched at a crucial moment given kind of the conversation that was going around with denim. I think it's also a
yeah,
great example of just working with talent that aligns with your brand, launching at the right time, and leveraging that partnership to our exact point we were discussing about not just to create a video, but to create content on social media, to leverage PR, to create this music video that
yeah.
then played on YouTube. I saw videos that it was actually being shown in stores. So I think they really had that full 360 campaign. And that was just one, I know it was a few months ago, but it continues to stick out. And I still see people recreating the
Yeah.
dances. So I just love the virality of that as well.
So I'm going to move to some rapid fire questions, and you mentioned For You page and or For You feed rather. I'd like to understand what yours looks like.
Yeah, mine's a little bit all over the place right now. I will say with Dancing with the Stars wrapping up, a lot of it's Robert Irwin compilations, and then it kind of ranges to the best coffee shops in New York City. I'm a avid coffee drinker, and I love to kind of work from coffee shops whenever I can. So quite a bit of range on my For You page at the moment.
Sounds like mine all over the place, but or like one month is something really aggressive, and then the next one it like flip flops
Yeah,
back and forth. But always dogs, always
we
dogs.
love dogs. I can't be mad about that.
So if you were a creator, what would your content angle be?
Yeah, I actually read a post recently about someone kind of wondering and throwing the question out there if creators ever get burnt out because their content is so niche. So I think with that in mind, I was trying to think about what I would want mine to be, and I think it would just more so be on doing the things that I already love to do. I want to share my travels, my life, try new restaurants, funny things that happen. So I think, as general as it is, I would love to just be that personality creator that people follow because they're curious what Emily ate today or where she's traveling in summer of 2026. So I think something that is just kind of about my general life and pretty a personality creator, I would say.
Yeah, yeah. Sounds like fun. So my last rapid fire question is, what advice would you give someone that's starting their career in marketing, or even more specifically in influencer marketing?
Yeah, I love this question. I think my first would just be to try to be a sponge as much as possible. When I was kind of thrown into the role, came out of nowhere, I had no idea what was going on. I just tried to learn from everyone around me. I never want to be the smartest person in the room. I try to surround myself with such intelligent and amazing people in the space. So I think number one, just learn as much as you can, ask questions, meet people. Relationships are so important. They really are your net worth. So knowing as many people in the area as you can. And then secondly, I think don't let any perceived barriers, whether it's age or something else, stop you. I am Gen Z, and I think oftentimes I'm intimidated or I think I'm the youngest person in the room, but I think in the space, particularly influencer marketing, being part of that generation has been one of my key strengths. So I think you're more important than you might think you are. Enter all the rooms. Don't underestimate yourself because what you think is a weakness might end up being your unique superpower.
I love that, Emily. And I'm not Gen Z, and I'm Gen X, in fact. And I think you're so right. You are so important. And I know that I often, because I'm Generation X, I'm looking to people like you, like, hey, like, what's this thing? Or like, how do you do that? Or, it's not that I'm not looking at things and following things. It's just, you grew up at a different time where you were kind of having your feels and your vibing in different areas, but everyone collectively brings something to the table. And I think that, I love your last point. I really love your last point, and I hope that everyone hears it and is taking that away and applying it to their future and their career moving forward. So
Thank you.
great. And anything you wanted to add that you want anyone to walk away with from this conversation?
Yeah, no, this was great. I think influencer marketing is only beginning. I know it now seems like everyone's doing it, but it is crazy still how young and early on it is within the marketing space. So it's a great place to work, great like area to enter. I think it's exciting, always keeps you on your toes. So definitely really excited for what's to come. And I appreciate the conversation, Denise. This was awesome.